Are you feeling the chill in the air? Sniffle season is swiftly approaching, and it is time to fortify your defenses. Join us today on Return to Eden as we discuss tips and simple strategies on boosting the immunity in your home. My name is Kendra Hand, fitness and nutrition specialist, here again with Jamie Woodle, integrative nutrition health coach and master of health science education. So in my household, when cold and flu season sneaks up on us, which inevitably happens every year, a few of the things we do are, first of all, we become a lot more conscious about sharing drinks. Another thing is we do work on our health all year round here and there, but we pay close attention to the things we snack on during cold and flu season. Of course, by we, I mean me, because my kids would much rather have like an oatmeal cream pie or a brownie. But I try to keep more foods in the house that are really high in things like zinc and vitamin C, which we'll talk about later. What do you guys do to help bolster your defenses?
We're probably not doing as much as we should right now. Generally, we are pretty vigilant about washing our hands. And I did just buy a bunch of tissues. I stocked up for the winter.
That's something. Covering your cough and your sneeze. So it may not be as important for some demographics as others. I know that elderly people need to really focus on boosting their immunity, but who else?
Well, you're right. As we age, our immune system doesn't function quite as optimally. And this is actually called immunosenescence. So that is why as we age, it takes us a little longer to heal from our bumps and bruises. Our immune system is just a little bit slower to respond. So absolutely, the older you are, the more you should be making efforts to supercharge your immunity. Also, if you're a smoker, there's something about the chemicals in cigarettes that also suppress your immune system. So you should be bolstering your immune system. If you're on immunosuppressants, of course, if you're on some kind of treatment that involves that, you're going to want to do whatever you can to try to help yourself out.
And limit exposure as well.
Yeah. But especially anyone who has a poor diet or poor gut health, because we know that nutritional deficiencies, like let's say you're deficient in C or D or zinc, these can negatively impact the capabilities of your immune system. Even something like excess weight can contribute to having a poor immune system. So we've talked before about how having excess weight can create chronic inflammation, and this chronic stress negatively impacts the function of B cells, which are cells that are produced to fight off infection and viruses. So if you're overweight, you may be more likely to get sick this coming flu season.
Chronic mental and emotional stress can also impact the functioning of your immune system. So managing those daily stresses in your life is something that I think we can all relate to. And in my research, I found some tips that I think are really useful. So there is a doctor, Kathleen Hall, who founded something called the Stress Institute. So she has the acronym SELF. And this is a really simple way that I thought was really effective in terms of managing and remediating your daily stress. So the S in SELF stands for serenity. For me, this means prayer time. So the National Institute of Health website has actually proven with multiple studies that deliberate devotional prayer done on a consistent basis doesn't just lower your heart rate. It actually reduces the muscle tension in your body and lowers your respirations. E is everyone's favorite, exercise. Now, yes, ideally moderate intensity exercises would be best, but any kind of physical activity from stretching to taking a walk to something really intensive like CrossFit is going to increase the endorphins that help to reduce cortisol levels. So at first you will see a slight increase in your stress and your cortisol levels, followed by a swift decline and an overall better capability for your body to manage those stress hormones. Now, the L is my favorite part. It stands for love. Love means in this instance, finding someone that you trust and connect with. This person can offer you perspective in terms of advice or support with issues that cause stress in your life, but they also give you a beautiful opportunity to offer support, which overall increases your feelings of self-worth and reduces the risk that you're going to hold on to those stressful and negative thoughts. And then F, which is food. Nutrition is vitally important to all of our body processes. But in terms of managing stress, you'll want to really focus on limiting processed foods, sugars, reducing or removing entirely any consumption of alcohol, and increasing foods that are rich in those B vitamins. For instance, B6 can be found in bananas, nuts, turkey, and even tuna fish.
So it sounds like in order to supercharge our immunity, preparing ourselves for this upcoming cold and flu season, we need to manage our chronic stress. So we'll list the obvious ones. If you're a smoker, you've heard it before, quitting smoking can help supercharge your immunity. If you're overweight, getting your weight under control. But one thing that is consistently on my mind is quality sleep. It is amazing as I do research how your sleep impacts your health. Mm-hmm. So it is crucial that we focus on getting quality sleep. Because when we sleep, our body fights inflammation and infection and does some housekeeping. And it can't do that if we're not getting the good sleep that's so necessary for our bodies.
And good sleep is something that in our society, there's not a lot of value placed on prioritizing your rest. If you're curious about things like sleep hygiene or different ways that you can improve your body's sleep cycles, take a look at the Skywatch TV website. In the archives for our e-magazine, there's an article that I wrote that's related to sleep hygiene. And just to touch on a few points there, you want to be very deliberate with the activities that you do right before bed. And by right before, I mean that 30-minute time period. So developing a sleep routine. Mine is a little bit silly. So I tend to like a little nest. And so part of my sleep routine is, of course, your standard wash my face, moisturize, do my skincare, brush my teeth, change into pajamas. But then I also create my little sleep nest. I arrange my pillows a certain way. I make sure that I have my white noise machines on because I cannot sleep in silence or total darkness. And that's part of it too. Recognizing what works for you, because maybe that's not the same. What do you do to improve your sleep?
I'm kind of a high maintenance sleeper. I have to have as much darkness as possible and sleep with an eye mask. I wear earplugs. I need to hug a pillow. I have one between my knees. But my husband is about to start using a CPAP.
Oh.
And I don't know how loud that is, so there may be an adjustment period coming up. So if I come into work and I'm a little tired and cranky, it's just because I'm trying to adjust
I
to
cannot
that.
imagine you being cranky, although I know we've both been suffering from tired quite a bit.
Yes.
Now, another thing that's really important when it comes to bedtime routines is eating. So you don't want to eat a heavy meal. You don't want to consume a lot of sugar, but you also don't want to be consuming alcohol or any caffeine within that time period just before you're trying to sleep. Also, maintaining that go to bed time as the same time every day. I know there's this whole myth that you can catch up on sleep. You cannot. If you miss sleep, you have missed it. Just do better the next day. It's, again, with everything, progress, not perfection. Be kind to yourself and listen to the signals that your body's giving you.
Another thing you can do to supercharge your immunity is to get outside. We spend so much time inside, especially in the winter. There's not a lot of jobs that have you outside all the time, getting that crucial vitamin D that we need to help fight off infection. It's so great for your immune system to have adequate vitamin D. But in the winter, a lot of people, even if you're kind of in the normal range, some people can dip into the low during the winter.
Right.
Just because we're not exposed to sunlight as much.
Well, and limiting your vitamin D or having that removed altogether during the winter months, that also plays into your mental health and your body's ability to cope with stress. So it is so important to spend time in nature, even if you're just sitting on your porch in the morning watching the sun come up, you'll experience a significant decrease in your stress levels.
Yeah, it can also help reset your circadian rhythm too.
Which makes falling asleep much easier. So, I mean, all of these things work together so beautifully.
There's another benefit to getting outside and getting sunlight, and that is the blue light from the sun actually energizes our T cells, which help fight off infection. I also found something very exciting when I was doing research for this. Have you ever heard of something called phytoncides?
No.
I'd never heard of phytoncides. These are actually chemicals that are produced by plants just outside in nature. So when we breathe in these phytoncides, our body responds by increasing the killer cells that actually locate and kill the viruses and the tumors.
Wow. But what about people who live in urban areas where they don't encounter a lot of living plants? Is there anything that those people can do to increase their phytoncides?
Yeah, if you're in an urban area, there are some hacks you can do using aromatherapy. So if you use extracts from thyme, oregano, pine and fir trees, also eucalyptus and tea tree, you can breathe those in and those can help. Although these do not emit the same phytoncides as the living plants out in nature, they do have similar compounds that produce similar effects in our bodies.
Exercise is another way, which we had touched on that earlier. So like I said, moderate intensity exercise is ideal when you're trying to improve your immune system. But listening to your body and starting where your skill level is so vitally important. So we've discussed the mental health implications in terms of dealing with stress for exercising, but we also need to discuss the physiological implications of that. So if you're doing a moderate intensity workout, you're going to be increasing the circulation of those immune cells throughout your body.
So when you're talking about circulating the white blood cells throughout your body, that makes me think of something called rebounding. Have you seen that? I'm sure you've heard of that, where they're on the trampoline and you bounce.
You double bounce them and they go extra high.
You're trying to move your lymphatic system.
Right. I also like to make sure that I'm eating a lot of those immune boosting nutrients. So vitamin C, particularly from bell peppers, are a really popular one in my house. Of course, oranges, lemons, citrus fruits, those kinds of things. And foods that are rich in zinc, such as pumpkin seeds and beans.
I've been trying to include more beans in my diet lately after talking about blue zones and polyphenols, and they're such a great complex carb.
I will say I've gotten away with a few times, even in like dishes that wouldn't typically have beans, with mashing up cooked pinto beans and sneaking them in with like hamburger and that kind of thing. My kids so far have not noticed.
That's so good for the gut. Usually around this time of year, I'll also supplement with some extra nutrition, such as our Eat and C or our zinc, to make sure I'm getting enough, because I do not have time to get sick. I have memories of my dad chewing on raw cloves of garlic when he felt like he might be getting sick. I don't know if you've ever had raw garlic. Have you tried to chew a clove?
Yeah, it's kind of spicy, but it's really the the texture of it that's difficult for me. So maybe there's a way to like lessen that almost like mucusy feeling that I get from chewing it. How do you guys use garlic?
Well, I can't chew it like my dad does. It's far too spicy. It makes my tongue burn. But what I do, and I got this tip from Joe actually one year when we were getting sick a lot. I was teaching first grade. So you take a clove of garlic and a zester and you zest it into a bowl and you add about a teaspoon of raw honey and you let it sit for 30 minutes. And this part is important because letting it sit for 30 minutes allows it to release more of the allicin that garlic naturally contains, which is really, it's potent as a antimicrobial.
Oh.
And then I'll spread it on toast or I'll spread it on my tonsils and then wait 30 minutes before I eat or drink anything. And it really knocks whatever it is right out.
Another option, if you're not able to really touch your tonsils that we had discussed before, was colloidal silver, which we do sell through Eden's Essentials.
My kids have gargled it because they won't do the garlic thing.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be rubbing things on their tonsils. So they have definitely gargled for 2 minutes some colloidal silver.
And same thing, don't drink or eat anything for about 30 minutes afterwards.
Yeah. My mom likes to drink something that has turmeric and ginger in there. She'll make like a turmeric milk tea.
Oh.
We do sell a fermented turmeric with ginger. I wouldn't put it in something hot though, because then you it's still anti-inflammatory.
Yeah,
you
but
kinda
the fermentation.
You lose some of the probiotic activity when you get it hot, so you don't want to do that. But turmeric and ginger are really great when you're not feeling well. And we also do a lot of probiotics or fermented foods when we're not feeling well in our house to help boost the gut, because we know that 80% of the immune system
is in your gut.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's very important.
Another thing you hear a lot about is echinacea.
Oh, yeah. I hear about echinacea all the time. But how does that actually help?
So it actually increases your body's production of white blood cells, which of course in turn increases your ability to fight infection and illness overall.
Oh, wow.
Once again, we are all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode about supercharging your immunity during cold and flu season. I know I found a lot of value in this discussion. If you have any questions, comments, or specific topics you'd like to see Jamie and I discuss, leave a comment below. You can also visit us at edensessentials.com or give us a call if you need help placing an order. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.